Good afternoon. My name is Tim Tormone, Associate Executive Director of Engagement and Outreach at the University of Maryland Alumni Association. We appreciate your attendance at this always relevant webinar, Up Your Game for Your Next Job Interview. This webinar will be recorded and sent to you later today. Slides from the presentation, however, will not be available, so please feel free to take notes as we go along. Also, if you have any questions, please type them in the questions box and we will get as many as we can answered in our time allotment. Our presenter today is Jason Levin, founder of Ready, Set, Launch, LLC. After a career in brand management at Unilever, consulting at Accenture, and employer branding sales at Vault.com, Jason realized career and outplacement coaching is his passion, and he guides executives and mid-career professionals of all backgrounds through career transitions, even into retirement. Jason works with his clients to land that next job, promotion, career change, entrepreneurial venture, or transition into retirement. Jason has appeared on WTTG Fox 5, CTV News, and has been quoted in the Wall Street Journal. With that introduction, I will turn the webinar floor over to you, Jason.
Well, thank you, Tim. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to be with TERP alumni, whether you're in the Maryland, D.C. metro area or farther away. Thanks for having me. Recognize that you could be doing a lot of things at this particular moment, and I appreciate you being with me. So let's up your game in your next job interview. And the fun part is that we had a chance to interview the great and famous soccer coach, Sasho Surovsky. And so we're going to bring a little bit of Sasho into this conversation. And let me tell you, Sasho knows how to up the game. And listening to him talk about how he prepares and how he thinks about the approach to success was quite influential on how we came up with this webinar. So definitely Sasha knows how to up the game. We're going to talk about preparation and then how to close on every interview, and then we can definitely get to questions as we close out on this. So as you're thinking about your interview, I want you to prepare like Sasha. And immediately when we were talking to him about preparation, he came out with this. His favorite quote is, "If you fail to prepare, then you are preparing to fail." And so he thinks about preparation in a whole host of ways. But one of the things that he was communicating most was that the importance of communicating to coaches and players that they have prepared enough that they can succeed. And so too often he was saying that his peer coaches over-prepare and don't think enough about the execution. But one of the things that did come out in his preparation was that Sasho has a checklist for success. And so just like Sasho has a checklist to prepare his coaches and players, we have the same for interview preparation. And so my checklist for interview success is based on 6 things. Your mindset. Sasho talks a lot about mindset. Your professional appearance, your understanding of the organization, your understanding of the interviewer, your story, and articulating the match. So if you hit these 6 things, you are definitely going to be prepared for that next interview. So let's talk about mindset, because mindset is really important in how you think about going into your next interview. Recognize that getting nervous is normal. I can't think of anybody that doesn't get nervous before an interview. And so in thinking about nerves, I think it's also important to understand what calms you down. I came up with something about 25 years ago. It was the most goofy thing I could think of. What calmed me down? Well, let me tell you what calmed me down when I was going through my interviews. This was what was going through my head. I feel pretty, oh so pretty. And yes, you now understand why I am in my day job and didn't go into singing. But whatever it is that gets you a little goofy, gets you a little relaxed, to bring you back down so that you can actually repeat the successful scenario. You're going to land that job. You're going to connect with that person in front of you, either over the phone or Skype or a series of people, and so that you're thinking about success from the moment that you connect with that person, and so that you can actually enjoy the experience. and it allows for you to be conversational. Because remember that people hire people, and people hire people that they like. So as you think about preparation, if you're going to be ready on game day, then you got to look your very best. And so whatever it is that you do to look your very best, make sure that you bring that out on your game day. As you begin to prepare for the organization, there are three things that I think are ubiquitous across public sector employers, private sector employers, multilateral employers, independent sector employers. They all have a mission, they all have a culture, and they all have competitors or peers doing types of work like them. And the best way to figure that out is to go on their website and what is it that that organization stands for? Can you be meeting people that are inside that organization to understand what's the culture like? What's the culture of the division? What's the culture of the team? What are the types of people that succeed in that organization? And then what are the peers that are doing similar types of work? This is fairly standard stuff, but it's amazing to me the amount of people that don't talk about the mission of the organization, and mission matters when you're talking about the research that you do. As you go further into private sector employers, sector and industry starts to be a lot more specific. So what's going on in hospitality? Are certain things contracting? Are certain things expanding? What mergers are taking place? What are the customers and lines of business of the organization? One of my favorite organizations is General Mills, because we eat Cheerios in our house. And I didn't know that General Mills also has Haagen-Dazs, and actually 10 different lines of business. And so who are those customers? Are they individuals? Are they government organizations? Are they small businesses? So understanding the dynamics of why that organization is succeeding and who actually is purchasing products, services, what does that actually look like? And of course any recent news. And when I think of news, I actually think of YouTube, because YouTube is a wonderful source of information for how employers are putting out their employees and talking about what it's like to work there. So for me, YouTube is an amazing career tool, because more and more employers are putting videos of their employees talking about what it's like to work there. And these are all great data points as you get to learn more about the organization. As you think about the interviewer, well, guess what? They are looking at you, so you can be looking at them also. Understand what is their role in the organization. Are they the hiring manager? Are they somebody that's recruiting you? Are they a dotted line report? Are they part of a matrix? Are they an internal customer? One of the things that I've seen in the last 5 years is the number of interviews that take place, because the number of stakeholders that people are interacting with have only increased. And so it's really important for you to kind of understand who's in front of you, because if somebody's in recruiting, they're more likely to talk about culture and fit. If you're talking to the hiring manager or the hiring executive, they're closer to the work, and they're going to probably be asking you more specific types of questions. Never too late to informational interview. Big fan of informational interviewing, not only before the interview process, but even during, if you've connected with people inside the organization, to kind of get more data points and understanding what the executive and the team and what it's like, so that you're starting to understand any political nuances that are going on within the organization. Let's say that, and I'm seeing this more and more as the millennial generation is taking on more and more responsibility. And so it's not uncommon for a Gen Xer or a baby boomer to be actually interviewing with somebody that's younger. And so this is something I'm seeing a lot more of. And so remember that, once you have 15, 20, 25, 30 years of experience, it's not like you need to talk about every single thing that you've done in your career. I think what trumps that is your ability to show your excitement for the role in the team and those kinds of things. One of the things that you need to be talking about if you're interviewing with somebody that's younger is highlighting your flexibility and specific work experiences where you've worked with younger colleagues, and that needs to come out and embed in the great things that you've done. And then it's not like you have to know every single type of technology out there, but just a comfort level with it, so that it shows that you are current. And so, when you talk about younger interviewers, they're out there and they're doing great work. And so there are great ways that you can be connecting with younger interviewers. As you prepare your story and you're going to get the microphone, you're going to get the classic questions, such as, tell me about yourself, walk me through your resume, why sector, why role, why employer. That should tie back to the research that you've done online in your informational interviews, so that you're embedding in your research and you're showing to them how much you know the organization. Key accomplishments need to be related back to the role. There's a lot of great things that you do, but in reading the job spec, what is it that you think is going to be the most important, and how can you relate your accomplishments back to that? You're going to get the strengths and weaknesses question. Strengths relate to the role. Your weaknesses, for me, I like to frame the weakness question based on your feedback. So it's a self-awareness opportunity, and your weaknesses should not be part of the important pieces to the role. But you could say that, over the years I've come to realize that people have given me feedback on my public speaking, and so I've taken more opportunities to prepare, and here are some of the things that I've been doing, and this is a work in progress. So weakness is understanding the thing that's been brought to you through feedback, what are you doing to work on it, and what are the next steps. As you think about other types of interview questions, you're going to get the behavioral interview questions, which is, tell me about a time when you made a mistake, how did you respond, delivered work under pressure, had to work with somebody you didn't get along with, worked in a team. The behavioral questions are going to be there, and so the best way to prepare for behavioral questions is to use classic story frameworks. These frameworks can help get particular accomplishments that you've done in your career and be able to articulate them quickly. So for example, let's say that you need to come up with a particular accomplishment. Let's use PAR. So the problem, what was the challenge you were facing when you began the role? Who were the stakeholders, internal and external? One thing when I'm mock interviewing people, people always use we. We did this and we did that. Well, that's great. Well, who was the we? Were there 6 internal stakeholders on your cross-functional team, and who were they? Did you have external clients, and what did that look like? And so recognizing, give me a healthy understanding of what's going on. Who is the we? The action piece, what was your thinking? What did you outline? Where did you come in and do something? So if you were part of a team, what did the team need to do? What was your role? Back to stakeholders, who's seeing the work? Did you come up with a report? Did it get sent somewhere? And the results, so what resulted from it? Did you give a presentation? Did you give a recommendation to senior management? Did you lower costs? Did you raise revenue? What is it that took place, and what was the accomplishment? What was the end result that you were able to do amongst others? You have individual accomplishments, you have group accomplishments. And so these types of story frameworks allow for you to get out your very, very best as you're moving things along. Guess what? The first time you do this, it might take 5 or 10 minutes to get all the pieces of the story out. Guess what? In an interview, you're not going to have all that time in the world. This is game day, and you got to be out quick. So I like to tell my clients to shoot for 90 seconds, 2 minutes max on these types of stories, and it allows for the person in front of you to digest it and probe further. And so that allows for a really good back and forth. The way you can structure your behaviorals is by using a 4x4. My 4x4 comes in 2 quadrants. The top quadrant is just based on what you think the job spec is. So some samples are, well, I think they're going to ask me about change and adaptability, passion and work ethic, team and people, technical and subject matter expertise on a particular area. But after you read the job spec, there's going to be probably 4 reasons why they're going to hire you. And so you can put that on the top quadrant, and then on the left-hand side, start coming up with PAR stories that speak specifically to that area. Between the classic questions and your behavioral questions, you're probably hitting about 80% of the interview, and that's some really good preparation. The other pieces of the interview that I think are really important are questions. You need to be engaging with the person in front of you. They need not only to understand how smart you are, but how likable are you? Can I trust you? And so I've come up with an inverted pyramid to think about how you engage with somebody. Every individual is part of a team, part of a division, part of an employer, and part of a larger industry. So you can be probing that individual on a whole host of themes based on this inverted pyramid. For example, what is the main challenge you're facing right now? Tell me about the role. Why was it created? Get the answers to the test. In your opinion, what are the 2 or 3 essential elements to succeed? How does this role support your work, the work of your boss? How do you like to lead and manage? All different types of questions that can bring out opportunities for you to connect with the person in front of you. And so bringing Sasha back in, it's also important to know your opponent. So guess what? Soccer is played on one field, and I like how Sasha talks about this. So in addition to the mental moments in a game, know what you're going to do from an attacking side and a defensive side. What do you need to know? What's the concentration? How do you need to bring all of those things as the game is being played? In an interview, you're going to be playing on multiple fields. So we're going to talk a little bit about how you play the game in a phone screen, how you play the game in a video conference, in person. So phone screen, you need to prepare as if it's in person. I'm a big fan of using a landline if possible. I know that landlines are being less and less used, but at the very least where you're getting all the bars on your phone. Have your printouts of your resume, prepared questions, organization information, everything in front of you. That's the cool thing about a phone screen, is that you can lay everything out there. Smile so that your voice comes through. There's a lot of research on smiling, and so I have some of my clients even put a mirror in front of them to make sure that they're smiling. It's okay to do a little chit-chat in the beginning, so be curious about the interviewer as well as the role. How's their day going? How's the weather? Make sure to answer the question that's asked. Too often, people prepare questions and then they answer a question that they wish the interviewer asked. And so if you don't understand the question, you can always qualify and say, well, can you rephrase the question, or if I hear you correctly, so that you're actually answering the question that you asked. And make sure to keep your responses short, because on the other side, they're going to be writing things down. So don't worry about pauses that go on. They're just taking notes and making sure that you finish your thought and then just stop. Video conference. Again, similar types of things that you'd be doing over the phone. And then ensure you're comfortable with the technology. So try out a couple of video or Skype conversations with others so that you're doing it in the right place and your face is coming through, and that you're comfortable with that interaction. You want to find a quiet spot and ensure that you're the only one on screen. You want to shut off all other technology. I remember talking to one recruiter. They were interviewing an executive, and the person, they had a cleaning person in the background that was vacuuming. And so, while funny, it's distracting. And so you don't want anything distracting going on, and you also want to make sure that what's behind you is not distracting. Understand your voice vis-a-vis the microphone, and watch for background noise. Clicking pens. Keep, so you listen to this. I've got a clicking pen right here, and it's really annoying. So make sure that there's no other noises and no shuffling paper. In person, and this is prime time when you're thinking about upping your game. Again, smile, be positive. Connect with your interviewer. Answer the question that's asked. Show up early. Last thing you're thinking about before you interview is your story and the things that you want to be getting across. Bring a notepad, pen, extra resume copies. Extra resume copies are for people that you might be thrown into an interview that were not on the schedule. Taking good notes for your thank you notes. You definitely want to prepare a list of questions that shows your research. Watch your interview's energy level and try to bring it either mildly up or mildly down depending on where they're at. A good piece of research and mimicking other people's energy also shows that you're in sync with them, and it helps with trust and likability, and figure out what they care about. So you've got the job spec, you've got the interview, but really understanding why is it that you're being or would be hired, what's the real thing behind it, will be amazingly helpful as you're trying to figure out how you talk about yourself. Panels, still seeing panels in 2016. To the extent that you can, it's really hard to make that individual connection. Shake hands with each interviewer before and after. Write down the names of the interviewers at the beginning of the interview and try to get their business cards. If not, you can send a blanket thank you note. What I like to do is use a typewriter approach. So begin with the answers to the person that asked you the question, and like a typewriter, keep looking and making eye contact at the different people on the panel, and then end your answer with the person that actually asked the question. Back to Sasho on closing. And Sasho talked about a lot about this. You must be prepared for adversity. It's part of who we are. Embrace it. And so closing and adversity, you're going to get objections. So at the end, you want to show excitement for the role, team, and employer at the end of the conversation, but how you handle objections. Were there pieces of your background where they thought were questionable? Were there other questions that you think that they are concerned about? And even asking, you know, are there things that you might have questions about my background? I'm happy to answer them right now. There might be things that have gone in the interview that you didn't think could have gone as well as possible, but how you close is really, really important. What are the next steps in the process? When are they going to call you? Are they interviewing other candidates? What are the steps? Make sure to get a business card so that you can get your email thank you out. If you really want the job, write a written thank you note. And that thank you note needs to be targeted, their interests, their needs, their views, and any potential objections that they might have. The thank you note is the opportunity to help clarify all of those types of questions. Some parting interview thoughts, and we can get to your questions. Bring Sasho into your interview and enjoy the process. He's a master at mindset. He's a master at preparation. He's a master at understanding how the game is played. And so for you, how the game is played is understanding your story. You're the only one to tell it. Practice, prepare, and repeat so that you feel extremely confident that you've done everything you could to go through the next interview that you have. Handle objections and be ready to overcome adversity. It's going to happen. How you respond is what is going to separate you against the other folks that you might be competing against. So feel free to keep in touch. Here is my website. Here's my email address. And feel free to think of me in a whole host of ways. This is my website, my Twitter handle. Feel free to like my Facebook page. And now I'll be more than happy to take some questions.
Great. Thank you, Jason. Just a reminder that I will be sending out a recorded version to everybody that RSVP'd for this event. We will not be sending out the slides, so hopefully you took good notes for those pieces of information that you needed. I only have one question at the moment, and it came from a Sarah who says, how do you find out about the culture of an organization before the interview if you're unable to get an informational interview with somebody that works there?
Sure. So if you can't get an informational interview, first I would try to do a web research on the organization. If there is nothing about the organization, then I would be asking questions to the people that are interviewing you. How would you describe the culture of the organization? What is the culture of the team? What are the types of people that succeed here? And even asking about the people's professional backgrounds. What other places did they work at? Another question I like to ask around culture is what brought you here? What keeps you here? And so those kinds of questions can bring out the culture piece if you can't find anything in advance.
Great. Hold on a second here. How do you work on projecting your voice during the interview in order to sound confident?
So I would be working on your tone, and I would be working on your pacing. And so if I'm you, the first thing I'm thinking about is how do you speak confidently when you're nervous, if you're getting nervous. One of the other things that you can be doing in projecting your confidence is making sure that you're keeping a similar energy level to that of your interviewer. That's the whole eye contact, body language. Voice is one component of how you pass a message, and so making sure that in addition to your voice, you're also projecting out a body language that's also confident, sitting up straight, shoulders back, those kinds of things.
One of my favorite questions, how many interviews should I expect before I receive an offer? I am currently scheduled for interview number 5.
That sounds pretty par for the course. So typically what I've seen, and again, it depends on the employer and what sector you're in. It's not uncommon to do either a phone screen or a video conference. Some organizations will bring you in immediately and you'll meet with 6 people on the day and then they'll decide. Other people, other organizations will bring you in for a couple and then for scheduling reasons they can't get other people in the door. But I'd say on average 5 to 7 interviews is pretty par for the course these days.
Any tips for overcoming adversity or objections?
So I think in the preparation piece, you need to think about when you're looking at the job spec, what do you have, what don't you have? And you can't make up things you don't have, but the one thing I like to prepare my clients for is the figure it out factor. So there's probably something in your career where you needed to learn something that you didn't know before the role. And so that's another way of handling an objection, that you may not know it, but here's an example of where you needed to figure something out and get up to speed and do it quickly. And again, that's part of your toolkit as well.
Okay. We do have a comment from one of the listeners saying that to understand culture, you may be able to figure that out based on the type of language they use on their website. So that's a good suggestion. Thank you. And it's, you said it's never too late for an informational interview. What about after you have applied for a job and are in the process?
So if you've already connected with people before applying or as you've applied and you're in the process, these are people that you can stay in touch with, or ask them, do they mind if you can stay in touch during the process? And if they say yes, it's a great way for you to keep dialogue going on in addition to the formal process. So I'm a big fan of multi-communication channels while you're interviewing.
All right. A couple of people have asked about salary negotiations and how to go about asking for the appropriate amount of money.
Sure. So in salary or in compensation, you're always pricing to market. So too often people are thinking, oh my gosh, I have to tell them what I made in my last job. And that shouldn't be an issue, because one of the reasons that you could be looking at this job is that you realize that you're being underpaid. So pricing to market, first and foremost. If they ask you how much do you want to be paid, one of the questions you can be asking is, well, what's the budget for this position? And see if they come out with a range. And if they do come out with a range, then you can say, well, that range sounds, within what I was thinking, and that's, happy to move forward on that. If they really want you to come out with a number, then give them a number. The fun part about giving a number in the beginning, and I wouldn't worry about this too much, is that even if you give a number in the beginning and you start to realize what the role is about, you can renegotiate that number, because you can always go back and say, well, that number was based on the job spec. As I've learned more about the role, it's actually more responsibility, so I think the role is worth more. So that question will come out, and the recruiter is going to ask you, what do you want to make? And the first question can be, what's in the budget? And see what they say.
Great. If you have most of the skills they are looking for, but not all, how do you address during the interview that you are missing a skill? So how do you be honest while still selling yourself?
Yeah, I think it goes back to, and organizations understand this. So an organization will put 10 skills that they want, and then they'll have preferred skills. So first and foremost, if you have the preferred skills, then you've got a good shot in. If you've got 6 out of 10 or 7 out of 10, then what you're doing is making the best case on the preferred skills and the 6 or 7 out of 10. And the ones that you don't have, then you talk about how you can learn new things.
Great. I think we have time for one more question, and it is, what is the best way to find out how flexible a company is as far as scheduling, working from home, handling family obligations, etc., and when is the best time to bring it up?
Absolutely. I mean, that's something. We're in 2016, and flexibility matters. So first, are they listed on any of the either diversity or flexibility magazines for awards and things like that? I would, as you're going through the process and you feel like you're getting close to an offer, once the offer comes down, then you can start talking about scheduling and those kinds of things. If they're talking to you about travel, and you can get a sense for what time people are coming in and what time are people leaving, you can get a better understanding of the whole flexibility piece. But typically, I like to have folks bring it up towards the end of the process when they're getting an offer.
Great. Jason, can we do one more question? I think it's a really good one.
Sure.
Are thank you notes still required, and should you send a separate note to every interviewer if there were multiple?
So I say yes and yes. To the extent you can, email thank you note in 24 hours if you really want the job. I say yes, send a written note. I was talking to somebody at the Department of Defense, and they're like, well, that's not going to get through our security systems for 6 to 8 weeks. And what if you don't get the job and the thank you note, arrives late? I'm like, you still sent out the email, and a thank you written letter shows a very good personal touch. It's a good habit to be in. So I'm a big fan of stamps and the magic pen, which is still probably the best technology out there. To the extent you can, and that's why I always say get a business card and get the names of the people you interviewed with so that you can send individual emails and not a blanket email, and then send out written notes. That's the hard part of the panel. The panel is probably the hardest one to get everybody's names because it happens so fast. So I would say, as an exception to that, if you can't get everybody's names for the panel, then send a blanket thank you note. But my default setting is individual email thank you, and followed up by a written thank you if you really want the job.
Great. Thank you, Jason. That's all the time we have today. I appreciate everyone joining us for our webinar. Again, there will be a recording sent to you later on today, and I hope that you found this valuable for the 33 minutes that we were together. Everyone have a great day. Go Terps, and if you get a chance, there are still tickets to the Minnesota football game on October 15th. Please join us if you can, and have a great day.